Hello, this is Anna Pacheco, Santa Fe 101.com. My guest today is Ron Leone, and he's a realtor in Doña Ana County. Ron, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
Oh, good. I saw your bio and it says that you originally from Washington State. Is that correct?
Actually, Brooklyn, New York. I was born in actually Queens, lived in Brooklyn, and then moved on to Long Island.
Ah, okay. So how long have you been out to, well, I don't know where I got Washington State from. Maybe that's another bio. I get a lot of these bios. What brought you to New Mexico and how long have you been out here?
Well, actually, I got here in 2003, got my license in 2004, but it was an interesting story. I was reading the Wall Street Journal, and there was an article about moving to Las Cruces, a wonderful place to do business, small town, metro area to do business. And when I got here, of course, it was much different at that point in time. Now the infrastructure and the commercial aspect of Las Cruces has improved greatly since I've been here. But I went to a McVita meeting with the marketing individual that composed that ad, and I said, I love the town. It's a hard place to get a job in, and I had mentioned to him that it maybe was not like the article that I read. And we're drinking a glass of wine together, and he says to me, "But I got you, didn't I?" And I said, "You certainly did." But it was an experience that I've really enjoyed. I've done very well here, living here, selling property and real estate here. I got here by way of the article, but I had gone into real estate initially in 1989 in San Diego. And then that expired. I went back to New York again to sell real estate there for about 10 or 11 years in upstate New York, selling farms, large acreage, homes that you might find in cabins like you might find in Ruidoso, Cloudcroft. And then when my parents had passed away, then the opportunity came to move out here.
Excellent. I think the experience you had, at least in New York, selling farmland and upstate, that kind of that has that must have helped you in Doña Ana because there's a fair amount of rural properties surrounding the Las Cruces, the city proper. So tell me a little bit about what it's like selling real estate. Well, first of all, you did say that it's changed a lot since 2003. So before we even talk about real estate, tell me about. I kind of know because I get down to Las Cruces, but I want our listeners to know to tell us about 2003 Las Cruces to 2021 Las Cruces.
Well, I think the influence, most of my clientele was coming from Minnesota, Wisconsin. They were coming from California at the time. Um, Primarily back in 2004, 5, and 6, and it changed the complexion of the city. People that came from out of the area, North Dakota, like I said, Minnesota, Wisconsin, California, wanted certain things, restaurants, food. They were spending gratuitous monies on property. It was really interesting. So their influence here demanded that the city change. The downtown area had the downtown area was compelled to change with the markets, the downtown markets, restaurants. They remodeled the Rio Grande Theater. Anything that would attract the culture. The people that came here were used to better culture, better restaurants, and variety. And I think the influence of the people that came here was the catalyst to the change.
And a lot of those places you mentioned, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, those are really cold states. And so you do that. A lot of people that are moving from that area or have in the past or continue, they're wanting to go to a warmer climate. And Las Cruces does definitely provide that.
Absolutely. When I was looking to relocate, my wife and I had originally looked at Phoenix, Scottsdale area to live in a retirement mode. Um, it was at that point in time that I felt that the 115-degree temperatures were a bit extreme for me. And I remember talking to a friend of mine had moved from New York to Scottsdale, And again, I'm talking to him, and it was like 10:30 at night, and it was still about 97 degrees. And what I really did appreciate about Las Cruces was the fact that it could be 199, 103 during the day, but about 7:30, it would drop maybe 20, 22 degrees. And it's one of the points that I bring out to the people that move out here from Minnesota, Wisconsin. It's not, it's a very dry heat, which is very attractive with less humidity. These folks just love it, love it.
It's not less humidity, it's virtually no humidity. It's really dry out here. That's what I always tell people, that, when you move out here, you become a lizard. You just dry up like a lizard. It's you in the winters, at least I have to like lather up heavily with vitamin E cream. And in the summer, it's not like when I go back to visit friends in New York or something, it's like, oh my God, I don't have to lather my body in moisturizer after I take a shower. So there are some differences. In terms of what are you seeing in terms of real estate? So I guess I'm assuming from, 17, 18 years ago, I mean, you could have certainly probably purchased a house for 100,000 or less probably back then. What's the price of houses these days in Las Cruces?
Let me put this into perspective. We're now in a seller's market. And last I checked yesterday, we had about 180 homes on the market. And you have to ask, what would be a normal market for Las Cruces? You're looking at anywhere from 950 to 1150 homes. These are residences. Now, when I mentioned 174, 180 homes yesterday, that is not including mobile homes, townhomes, or condos. These are residences, and it's extremely difficult for us. And consequently, being in a seller's market, this year alone, the appreciable values have been around 12.5%. It's a lot of money. Um, when I
So
was
let's
selling
break
a
that into
home,
what is the average cost of a home right now? So don't say about 12%, because the 12% of what? So like right now, what is the median cost of a home in Las Cruces?
I would say comfortably say that it's about $190,000.
Well, that's still very affordable. A median home here in Santa Fe right now is about over 530,000. So it sounds like it's still a bargain down in Las Cruces. I thought it was inching up there, but I know Albuquerque's gotten much higher now too. So Las Cruces still sounds like a bargain. So for people that are watching this, Las Cruces is our second largest city, if I'm not correct, if I'm
Second
correct.
largest,
So it's
yes.
Albuquerque, Las Cruces, Rio Rancho, and Santa Fe. I think
Yes,
Rio Rancho has.
the county right now has about 219,000. The city is about 103,000.
Okay. So yeah, so tell us about some of the like I have friends who live in Mesilla. I actually wrote the biography of J. Paul Taylor of Mesilla. He's kind of
Oh,
like a
yes.
legend out there. So tell me about like some of the other really quaint areas. If I'm not mistaken, Mesilla, where you can still get some really cool, like over 100-year-old adobe homes. That's probably a pricey area to look in right now.
Yeah, Mesilla is really an area unto itself. I think everyone would like to live there. One of the things that I really appreciated about Mesilla, it had trees. When I got here and I read the history of Mesilla, and I read there were about 11 homes that were mail order, and I happened to sell one of them on McDougal. Really interesting. 11 mail order homes. So the blocks were mailed, delivered to the location. But Mesilla is really unique. What I loved about it, it had trees, and it was the intention of the original developer to plant a lot of trees. So Mesilla consequently is a lot of green. We live in the desert, so it's really a contrast to the periphery of the rest of Las Cruces. And that's very important. People love shade. When I sell properties, and I didn't realize this when I bought my home, facing west can be a challenging matter. Cost you money to create shade, and but nonetheless, Mesilla has very quaint. The plaza had been remodeled recently. Um, Entertainment and activities on the weekends are uh, quite well. Actually, they're uh, what can I say? They're weekly weekends. There's always something going on. Always something. So people migrate there. They eat at the La Posta restaurant. Now you have three or four restaurants that have come there. The Hacienda, you've got Salud, you've got a great Italian restaurant. These are all things that were influenced by the people that got here.
Well, you have that great winery. Is it St. Clair's Winery or something?
St. Clair Winery,
That's
correct?
very nice. I like that when I go out there. But so do you sell any property there? Do you know what the going rate? I have friends who still live there and they said it's getting this almost as expensive as Santa Fe. Do you know what
Oh,
the
it
cost?
is. It is. Anything in that area is. We talked about the 190, not in Mesilla. You've got anywhere from, at the low end, 375 up to 800,000.
Yeah, well, it's a very special, unique. It's a very special area. So what does that work out to? Like the 190,000 per square foot. Like what size of a home are you getting for 190,000?
You can get it anywhere from 14 to 1,500 square feet. A lot of the activity right now, because inventory is so low, the new home builders are just challenged to find land, but they're selling things conservatively from 225 to 265 up to maybe 310, some of the better builders. So the new home builds are becoming extremely attractive. You get something new, newer mechanicals, better upgrades, more efficient heating, cooling. Um, but generally, when you get into the older 1980, 1990 homes, um, they're going for $125 a square foot to maybe up to 140 now.
And can you get any old Adobe homes in Las Cruces or do they exist at all?
Hard to find. A lot of the time, when you do find it, they need a lot of work because they have not been maintained over the years.
Okay. And then for people that might be watching this, if you were to live in Santa Fe, chances are you don't need central air conditioning because it doesn't get that hot here in the summers. If you live in Las Cruces, you definitely need central air. Isn't that correct?
Definitely,
It would be
and they're getting away.
uncomfortable. I'm
That's
sorry.
right. The earlier homes that were built back in the late 60s, 70s, and even 80s had evaporative cooling, and that's disappearing, literally disappearing. There's not a home built, but some of the older homes still have it. Someone buys it, they make the conversion, and it's a lot different. That's why you mentioned Santa Fe. Or what are you, about 7,000 elevation?
We're at 7,200 feet. We're the
72.
highest
So
capital city in the nation in terms of altitude.
we're about 4,000. Mesilla would be about 3,900 elevation,
But the
and
other thing is
that's
true, we're in the mountains, we're in the high mountain desert. You are in the desert, and your proximity to Arizona, what you're maybe 4 hour drive to Tucson. So it is hot, it is warmer where you live, but you still have four distinct seasons. You do get winter there, and occasionally it does snow, but your summers, I mean, if I were to live there, I definitely don't, I try to avoid July and August down there. But I mean, if I lived there, I would certainly have central air conditioning. But I guess another neat thing about Las Cruces for people that might be considering moving to New Mexico is the fact that you have a university there. And a lot of people want to be they want to be involved, they want to live in a city that has a school of higher education, just because it attracts professors and students, and just intellectually it's more stimulating for a lot of retirees. They can take continuing ed courses or that type of thing. The other nice thing I like about San Francisco, Las Cruces, is that you have your proximity to El Paso. I mean, if you want a bigger city to go to, El Paso's what, 45 minutes away? I think that's kind of cool. If you want to go to if you want to go to Juarez, Mexico, you're again 35 to 40 minutes away. And that's just kind of I think those are neat things. And so you have Tucson not too far away, El Paso's much closer, and you also have the Mexican border. And I think that what I really like about Las Cruces too is that you get, there's a real nice mix of Mexican culture here in New Mexico, here in Santa Fe, northern New Mexico. It's not as strong. So oftentimes, the population will be bilingual down there. So I think that's another interesting aspect of living and buying a home in Las Cruces. Tell me about some of the outline areas. Do you sell like rural property like in Chamberino, or is Anthony, New Mexico still part of Doña Ana? Is that whole area Doña
Yeah,
Ana?
you got Santa Teresa, you got those areas that are in the periphery going towards El Paso. I don't do a lot of selling down there. Um, but then again, when someone can afford to live or someone works in El Paso, the taxes are much less in Doña Ana County and in Santa Teresa or Anthony.
So you're
So
saying that
by
people could live in these areas, Santa Teresa or something, but work in El Paso?
Yep, absolutely.
So and are those mostly like farms that you sell or rural areas, or are there like
No,
in
there are
Santa?
resales down there. There's some new construction going on right now, and so there are people that are buying. Right now, the cost of construction has gone up triple. So it's changing. It's supposed to be going down in about 2 or 3 months, the cost of lumber and drywall, whatever. But you can still buy much less down there than you could in the city proper of Cruces. So by virtue of that, you got a better need to buy for less and get maybe a larger lot. Right now, when you buy something in Cruces from a new home builder, the lots are small. You know, they're not as big. I live in Las Oturas, and I chose to live there because anything in my area is about a half acre, 3/4 to an acre or more. And I like the one of the advantages of buying an older home. You've got again shade, trees. You got the larger lots. Anything built today are usually on smaller lots.
Exact same thing is happening here in Santa Fe. And then Las Cruces, they've got a good school system down there. So it's a good place, for if, younger people that might want to settle there and raise a family. Because again, Santa Fe is so costly now that I think it's much harder for young people starting out that they want to raise a family. Whereas Las Cruces still, you can see it's still affordable in that sense. You have a good school system and you actually have a university there. And you're not far, again, from a lot of the other, areas. What about retiring there? Are there retirement communities? We have several up here in Santa Fe. Can somebody like live in a gated community where they take care of the lawns and that type of thing? Do
Oh,
you have
sure.
that?
In Sonoma Ranch, you've got gated communities. The affordability factor, even the gated communities, it's not much at all. When I tell people, they ask me, "Are there HOAs here?" And I said, "Yes, there are." How much are they? Some of those communities are only 525 to 550 a year. You know, normally back in New York or any San Diego, you're looking at a lot of money per month. And the people that come here from outside the area find that extremely attractive. But yes, the islands and the front lawns and some of the other things are taken care of through the HOA, but they're extremely affordable.
And and the other thing too is New Mexico has some of the lowest property taxes in the country. So the entire state is attractive from that perspective. What about, do you have a lot of second homeowners there? Do people buy second homes? Here in Santa Fe, we have a lot of that. People just fly in and out for the summer. Do you get a lot of that down in Las Cruces?
Well, and I'll answer it this way because it has changed in the last 5 years. The people from Minnesota, Wisconsin, the West Coast, and Washington State, they wanted that large home at 3,500 square feet, paid gratuitous monies to buy them. That same profile buyer between 55, 60, 65 years of age, they want something smaller, um, more conservative in the size of the lot. What they want to do, they are more seasonal than they used to be. They want to lock up their home, visit grandchildren because of their age. They feel safe. You don't have to worry about weather conditions to have somebody police the watering systems, the irrigation when it gets very cold because it doesn't get cold here very often. But that same profile, 55 to 65, they want something smaller, easily to maintain, and they're gone. They lock it up maybe for 2 or 3 months, come back. They're traveling, and they're much more conservative in their purchase.
And you also have, speaking of traveling, I believe Las Cruces has an airport, a smaller one, but you have a major airport in El Paso and then again in Albuquerque. So you're not too far from major air travel. And also the neat thing about Las Cruces, I should be selling real estate with you. Look at me, I'm selling Las Cruces. But the other neat thing about Las Cruces is you have the Interstate 40 and Interstate 25. So if you want to drive, you have real quick access to California or up to Colorado. So that's the other information.
Right,
I
you
mean,
got the 10, the 25, and of
and
course
where
the
is, oh, I-10 is El Paso. That's right. So there's 10. No, it's not I-40. I made a mistake. I-40 is further up. I
right,
apologize. I meant I-10. So I-10 will take you out to Phoenix,
right.
Tucson, and then you can get up to California. So it's I-10 and I-25. So we're getting to the end of the interview, and I'm sold on Las Cruces. I may come down there and retire at some point. Anything
Very,
else you
very
want?
friendly city,
Yeah.
extremely friendly.
Well, the entire state. I mean, we are a really nice state. The Oregon mountains are interesting. There's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I think Las Cruces definitely has my vote in terms of people that might be thinking of relocating. In terms of real estate, anything, of course, all of your details are going to be posted with this interview. Anything else we should know? I mean, we're coming out of this COVID pandemic. I do believe that everybody's having a housing. There's a low, low inventory in terms of housing. But I think once things get better, people will start selling their houses again. And I think things are going to start to, pick up again. Any words of advice or that people might be thinking about this, or they might give you a call and say, Ron, help me find a home in Doña Ana County.
Well, as we mentioned in the very beginning of the interview, the homes here for first home buyers, which I'm happy to see because when the outside influence came in years ago, the first home buyer, the locals, were not able to compete with the outside influence. And right now, we're selling homes to locals, to first home buyers. The interest rates are incredibly low. They have gone up in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, but still, when you're buying a home, a 30-year mortgage at three and a quarter, 3.625, extremely affordable. And I take a lot of pride in working with first home buyers, and they really appreciate the fact that they can get into homes with little to nothing down, and we work out different programs for them. But anyone that moves here, whether they have the money, whether they're first home buyers, you're not going to find a better place to live. I've lived all over the country, and I found home here in Las Cruces. It's unbelievable.
And again, that's what I said. It's a great place for families starting out, a great place to raise your children and to live in a beautiful city. I want to thank you again, Ron, for your time, and I will get this interview up just as soon as I can. Thanks again.
Thank you, Anna.